Hey, how's it going? Pastor Andrew coming at you with another weekly vlog. A lot of you in the Christian community that have been on Facebook and listened to the news and whatnot, you've probably heard about the unfortunate passing of Ravi Zacharias, a great man of God. Had the privilege of getting to hear him speak a couple of times mainly when I was in college. He was in the Minneapolis area, and was blessed to be able to hear him speak, and just not just him, but his organization and everything that they do has just been a huge impact on the Christian community, and for sure, in my opinion, one of the great theologians of the 21st century. But one of the things as we mourn this great man, one of the things that we have to be careful about as Christians is we put these men and women on these pedestals of being these great leaders, and they are. But we can't forget, though, that they're just human beings like you and I. A lot of times we live this life and we focus so much on, what can I do to further the faith, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the problem that we oftentimes face and we get into is we kind of immortalize these great Christian people. I think one of the big names that we all know of is Billy Graham. Again, men like Billy Graham, Ravi Zacharias, and even going back further, people like Charles Spurgeon and Karl Barth and all of these other theologians. We don't necessarily further the kingdom for God, but we want to elevate ourselves and be these great, well-known teachers and theologians and preachers. As a Christian, as a pastor, a lot of times we call it kind of the Super Bowl of being a pastor when we open the book of Acts and we get to see Peter's sermon following the coming of the Holy Spirit, and thousands of people become saved because of that one sermon that Peter gives to everybody in Jerusalem. And again, I have to check myself a lot of times, because I think sometimes as Christians we focus on all of the glory. We focus on being that one pastor, being that one teacher that everybody knows, and they want to know what our opinions are on a passage, or as a Christian, how should I view some life event or something like that. When in reality, what we need to do is we need to let our focus not only being on God, but allowing God to receive all the glory. We need to allow God to harvest the field that we plant. And a lot of times we don't like that, because we like the mentality that I went out and I worked all day, I sweated and I worked hard, and because of that I should be allowed to reap the harvest that I've worked so hard for, when in reality it's God that gets that harvest. We have to humble ourselves. We have to allow God to receive the glory. That's all His. One of the things when we talk about this idea of the harvest being for God, that all of our, everything that we earn is of God. One of the biggest ways that we talk about that in the church is giving. Same concept. I get up early, I work hard all day long, I come home, I sleep, I get up and I do it all over again, 5, sometimes 6, sometimes 7 days a week. And we finally get that paycheck, and we just look at it and we're like, wow, I earned this. This is mine, minus everything that the government took away from me. But what's the small amount left after that is all mine. I earned this. But that's not ours. That's God's. Because as Christians, we serve God. We work hard. One of the verses that I have to remind myself of a lot is, I don't work for man. I don't work for a human being. I work for God. And because of that, my work ethic should be based off of that I should work hard and give 110% for God. And then I get paid for it. And then I give some of that back to God. Giving back to God some of what's already His. And it's not just money, but it's the harvest of ministry. Ministry shouldn't be about elevating ourselves. Our ministry should not even be about building the church to be this great, big, massive mega church. And it drives me nuts that so many churches lose the vision, in my opinion, of growth. Because a lot of times we're so focused on numbers and finances and all this other junk that becomes the focus. We don't really focus on being here for the local people. We're not here to represent God. All we really care about is growth, both internally and externally. Having the biggest building, having the biggest sound system, having, all these great Sunday school classes. And yeah, those things are really awesome and they're a huge blessing to have. But we can't forget, one, who gave us those things, because it's God that gave it to us. And two, what are we doing with those things? Are we using it to glorify ourselves? Are we using all of that stuff to elevate ourselves, to elevate our churches? Or are we using it to reach a lost population for God? To make that feel a little bit bigger? When we talk about growth, that's the other thing. Are we growing? Are we, as a church, but even on a personal level, inside, are we growing spiritually? Are we putting in the work to be growing? To not necessarily being satisfied with where we're at right now, but going, okay, God, you've given me these blessings. Now how am I going to take those blessings and multiply my blessings to have more? But when we talk about blessings, or when we have that mentality of asking God to give us more blessings, how can I grow my blessings? But not doing it for ourselves, but doing it for God. Again, we have to humble ourselves. We have to understand that this world is not about us. God didn't create this whole wide world for Andrew. God created this whole wide world, put me in this world, and said, go work. So I challenge you this week. Are you growing spiritually? Are we humbling ourselves and allowing God to use us? Not all of us are going to be Billy Grahams. Not all of us are going to be Robbie Zacharias. It's us little guys that can have such a huge impact. Have a good week.